Today I'm going to jump in with both feet and begin with the words of my guest. I don't usually begin here, but I have to when it's this powerful. And she says, quote, "Life is a privilege. Each day is a privilege. Do right by others. Treat people how you would like to be treated. Always give more than you will ever take in life, but most importantly, lead by example." End quote. This comes from a woman who lost her dad to cancer at 17 years old. This comes from a woman who found a lump in her breast at age 21. While her friends were going out partying, she was going to the hospital. Through her loss, she found light and courage and purpose and her voice. And now she is changing lives with her work. She specializes in 3D hyper-realism and is an internationally certified paramedical micro-pigmentation specialist who works with the top doctors in Canada. So what does all of that mean? Everything to patients who have battled breast cancer. Today, I am beyond thrilled that the amazing Kacie Rainey is stepping into the inner circle. My goodness, you are a gift. And finally, we get to connect. Yes. I mean, one of the first things I have to tell you when we had our first phone conversation that struck me is you said your purpose comes from a place from taking pain and turning it into a purpose. I want to dig right in right there. Yeah. What did you mean by that? Because that just struck me as so profound. I was like, whoa, tell me more.
So essentially, you know, you had mentioned earlier about losing my dad at 17. So, you know, that whole pain to purpose has been my growth path. It's really just been my authentic, raw life from losing my dad, seeing him go through his battle with cancer, which was very quick. Being a healthy guy to then going into stage 4 colon cancer was an extreme thing to see as a teenager. And so over the duration of time, you know, grief, we had talked about this too in our conversation, how it just kind of sets up in your heart and it will always sit there until you choose to kind of, you know, excavate it and take your time on it. Unlock it, exactly.
And do the heart work and the hard work.
Exactly.
Can we dig in a bit more about that? Just tell me a bit about your upbringing, and because you were really close to your mom and dad.
Totally, yeah. So we're originally from Calgary, native Calgarians. And then my dad's job took our whole family over to Toronto. So he was an entrepreneur. I wonder where I get that from. He was just a go-getter in the business world. So he was highly respected in the business world, pretty much based off of being kind and giving people a chance. And that's how he built what he built for us. So when our family moved out there, and then we just kind of set up shop that way, and I enjoyed the city life. It was a very different flow from what I was used to, you know, coming from Calgary, a smaller town at the time. So that kind of shaped me too in another way. So again, taking your pain into purpose, you know, through high school, I wasn't always treated well. You know, I was bullied. And so that's one thing that totally plays a huge role for a lot of people out there. Bullying, you know,
it's so massive,
so huge. And back, you know, in the day, as to say, it's changed a lot generationally from when I was bullied in school to, you know, the bullying now with cell phones and all that stuff as well. But it's just been an interesting process of taking pain from different areas of my life, and especially grieving the loss of a parent, watching your family suffer, you know, your mom, your brother, your everybody who loved him, and taking that and being able to say it without crying. That was like the first step of me knowing that I'm on my path to healing, because I can talk about this without crying. And we can start to heal now.
And that is huge for anyone who is lost, and I have, both my mom and dad. I don't know if I'm quite there. I have a lot of work to do, so I appreciate you shining a light on that, because when you do hit that point in your life, that's a big, big win and a big step forward. But 17 and you lost
Yeah.
your dad to colon cancer. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's at a time in your life, as I mentioned, like everybody is going out and having fun
Yeah.
and partying, and you
Yes.
are literally going to the hospital every day?
Yeah, I would take my dad to chemo treatments. I'd be at the hospital with him. I didn't really have like the typical high school year that year because I would be driving him because he'd be too sick to go. And my whole family, of course, would step up. But we just had such a special bond that he almost, in a really profound way, made dying okay.
What do you mean by that?
He showed me with his bravery and just with his education on what was going to happen to him, what to expect. There was no stone unturned. So as he progressed, it could be as simple as I'm going to lose weight because I'm taking chemo treatments, or I'm going to lose my hair because I'm doing chemo. I'm going to start to turn yellow, and gray because I'm starting to, that was our relationship though. So I knew what to expect. So when things started to, as he started to deteriorate, let's say, it wasn't like a blatant shock because we were guided through him the whole process. What the doctors would tell him, he would then relay. So it wasn't like he was hiding things. So it made it profoundly a bit easier for me to process all
Kacie,
at
that's
once.
so powerful.
Yeah, he was
I've never thought of
insanely amazing human.
Wow, because then it's hard to process those changes.
Yeah.
And they happen quickly, and
Yes.
you're not mentally or emotionally prepared for them.
No.
And for him telling you that, it's like a preemptive strike to get you to know that this is all part of it.
Yes.
And maybe takes some of the beating off your heart that you go through.
Absolutely. And he, one of the things that I hold the dearest to my heart, and all of our friends and family know this about my dad, but every single year he wrote my brother, my mom, and I a letter. And since we were babies, I know, we're going to start bawling in a minute. My voice will crack on this one because for sure. So he would update it every single year. And it was called Letters If I Die. And so every year he would update those. And when he was diagnosed, he did update them that year. And so on your point of speaking about how things kind of painting the picture of what was going to happen, the doctors said, we're getting close to the end, so you're going to start to lose these functions. And so he said, before I lose my hearing, because he couldn't see at this point all the way, I'd like you to my mom to bring in the letters, and I want to read them.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and so we read them together. And that would have been, if my timing is right, about 4 days to a week before he passed away. Yeah.
I
Yes.
have to. What was that like?
It was so beautiful. It honestly was the most beautiful pain you'd ever experience in your life because you got to have that moment with that person. People can pass away or they die suddenly and you never get almost a closure, or even I don't look at it as a closure. I look at it as a send off. He was sending us off back into the world to do amazing work. And that's what my purpose comes from, is that moment in time. It's forever in my heart and my mind, and it never will go away. And that's where the purpose, that's where the pain to purpose comes from, because if I could see my dad go through that, I got this. I fucking got this. Straight up. It's that profound. So, yeah.
I know that there's got to be a ton of people listening right now that I think seeds were planted for how to handle difficult situations by the story you just told. So thank you very much for
pleasure, of
sharing
course.
that with us. I really appreciate it. So you say goodbye to your dad. Did going through that process with him, did it soothe any pain?
I mean, anytime you're seeing someone suffer, of course, you have such a bright human being the light is being dimmed.
Yeah.
So that they're not living their best life. That they're not living how they want to live it out. So there is a sense of relief in that, to know people are going to a better place. They're serving a different purpose. It might not be in this dimension. It might be in another dimension, but they're there, And so that definitely gave me some type of relief. And there is also a very interesting, when you do see somebody pass on into another life, it's so humbling and raw. You see a soul, like you actually see the soul leave the body, and it's like we create this world of objects around us that apparently are who we are. But when you actually think about it, you are just a capsule that is carrying a soul, and that's what matters. So your body just is matter, and your soul is what carries on, and that's my responsibility, is to take care of my dad's soul. He didn't get the chance to, live it out till he was 90, but I'm going to take it as much as I can. I'm going to take him on an adventure through life as much as I can. That was my promise to him, and I'm going to do that as much as I can.
How are you doing that?
With my work, through my work, travel, just anything, living my life the way that I would like to live my life, knowing that every day really is, it's a gift. Literally, each day is a special occasion to be on this earth. So yeah, it's just become a practice and a mindset, though, too, to be honoring of those thoughts and feelings, as opposed to think that you're just given all this time and that you expect these things from the world.
Did he have a wish for you?
Oh yeah, he did. Of course he did. I wouldn't say it's one specific wish that like I just sit there and keep rethinking. He just knew that like this is what I would blossom into one day. Like I would just take all of this, and he knew that I would unpack it on my own time, but he knew that I would take this and I would do what I love to do, and I would be thinking outside of the box and getting creative and just pivot what this turned into and make a positive out of it. And that's something he showed me, and my mom showed me too, and that's what I pride myself on, is thinking outside of the box, being creative, and just living the best you can.
I can't wait to dig into your work. We're going to get there. But,
yes.
I mean, the perspective you ooze, I'm sorry, I just, it hijacked my thoughts, because
Amazing.
You must have people that tell you you're an old soul.
Yes, I have heard that one before.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Okay. So dad passes.
Yes.
But not long thereafter, you find a lump in your breast. What, some 3 years later? Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, so essentially, I carry a genetic disposition that predisposes me to cancer as well. So this essentially came up randomly, but I was shocked that it happened. It's a quick turnaround, but I found a lump. I was just being a health advocate for myself, and as we should always be, but feeling around, and I stumbled upon this lump, and I'm like, ooh, that's weird. And my one aunt had breast cancer, so I asked her, I'm like, what do you think about this? She's like, we need to go get that checked right away. And we did, and it turned out to be a lump. And as we spoke before, I had biopsies done on it, multiple biopsies. They treated it exactly like they would grit it out as if it were cancerous. They wanted to make sure, because I was so young, and I did have I do have a disposition with the genetics.
Did you know that at that time?
No, not
How
at
did
the
you
time.
find that out? So you're 21 years old, and you had to have a lumpectomy.
Essentially, yeah, it was the removal of a capsulated tumor. So because there wasn't cancer wasn't going throughout me, it was contained, everything was fine.
Yeah.
It was the removal of the lump, yeah. So I did get screened and went through the scare at that age. As far as I knew, it was a breast cancer scare, and thank goodness everything was okay. But I go regularly for screening, and yearly because of that and the genetic side of things. So it's just a crazy
21 and dealing with that.
Yeah. And ever since I was 19, I started with colonoscopies, and that's just because of my dad. And that's something that I talk about openly to people, because I'm a huge advocate for health, and I think it's so important that we take care of our health. Why would I put that off, knowing this is something so close to me? Why would I put that off and put my family one day in this position because I was too proud to go in and have this done?
Well, that was just a good reminder for me, because my dad's cancer started there in the colon, and I need to go and get that done too. And honestly, I've been putting it off for really no good reason. Yeah. And it's time for me to literally get my butt in gear, and face
literally.
the music. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
I was feeling you.
All right, so you're dealing with this, you get a hold of it, and then you're off to university.
That's right. Yes.
To complete what was a business degree?
Business.
Followed in
Yep.
Dad's footsteps?
That's right. U of A. That was the only place I was going to go. I promised him, that was my last promise to him. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I will finish my degree, and I will finish a degree. And I knew it was time. I just felt it in my life, and I listened to the signs, and I just was like, we're doing it. So I set up shop here and actually lived here in Sherwood Park and attended the U of A School of Business and graduated. And
Did you want to be an entrepreneur?
You know, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I love medical, everything, but then I'm like this crazy creative person. So it's like, how do we mesh all these things together? And the picture wasn't fully painted for me at the time. So that's where it's kind of bizarre how all of these sequence of events come to be, you know, business background from schooling, and then my creative artistic flow meshing in with my business. It's just like a match made in heaven, literally. So, yeah.
Okay, so you dropped a little foreshadow there because I'm familiar with your story, and you said the picture wasn't painted yet.
Yes.
That, go there because that was your aha moment.
Yes. So I was traveling and I stumbled upon this whole paramedical reconstructive form of art in the medical space, but it was this happy cohesion between the two. And it was just this profound moment of, I'm finishing up school. I have no desire to be, you know, some of my best friends are amazing accountants in the city and lawyers and all of these incredible jobs that I fully respect, but I would lose my light doing something like that. I'm not designed for that. So I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? And I just stopped looking. And when I stopped looking is when it like hit me like a ton of, it literally stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, I went running home to my boyfriend and I'm like, I know what I'm going to do.
Was that when you were visiting, or had to do with cancer patients and art?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us that story.
Well, I was actually in Sweden at the time when I saw this, because in Europe, they're so advanced over there with their
They are, yeah.
their paramedical, anything in the medical space, but especially in our line of work, they're decades ahead almost. So I just happened to stumble upon this, and I was just shocked that we could mix these two together. And so that's kind of where it all stemmed from. Is I came home and I said, Ryan, like I know what I'm going to do now. Like I think I have a purpose now with all of these tools I've been given and worked towards. I think I know how to put them together. And he was like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to tattoo nipples.
So, but how did you land there? Because why that particular area of practice?
Like why areola restoration?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so it came, I mean, everything, of course, through my journey with my dad and cancer. I knew for sure anything I was going to do with my job. And I think that's why I struggled a little bit, is because I didn't know it wasn't actually a full out job. Like if you were to look at a job sheet, it wasn't like the top 3 things you might pick, right? It's so unique and it's very niche. So that's kind of where I started to see it develop for me. And I'm like, okay, this is where I want to mesh where I came from, my background, my story, with moving forward in a positive direction. So reframing what cancer looks like, the negative side, the sad side, the devastation of pain. Well, let's turn this into a purpose. Let's take my pain and we'll create a purpose for other people. And that's kind of how we had this like bizarre moment in our kitchen in Sweden. I'm telling my boyfriend I'm tattooing nipples, and he's like so for it, but he's just like, I wasn't expecting that one, Case. You know, it was so beautiful moment.
And my mind is absolutely blown here, because you know that's what I teach, is about the power of story.
Yes.
And you literally took your story and ran with it.
Yeah, you have no option at that point, you know, you really don't. And it's true. You just got to go and forward motion always.
I need to ask this because you talk so much about purpose, but could you feel it in your gut? Because I always say you can feel it. You know where you're supposed to go. Girl. It's whether or not you listen. So many people, the voice pops up and you shove it back down and it bubbles up again. When you listen, it leads you into your purpose. Yeah,
you know it's right. You know it's right. And it's a gut feeling, but it's a full body experience. I would explain it like that. Like it's if you've ever lost somebody, or you know you have someone guiding you, you don't even question it. You just do it because you know it's right. And you know you have angels watching you, or you know you have your guardians around you. Like, it's a profound feeling, but you have to feel that, you have to be open. You can't be closed off. You have to come in with an open heart and mind connected, or else that won't work. You won't be receiving all the signals, you know?
Dig deeper. What do you mean open heart? To explain and mind. To be open means what?
To work on yourself, you know, really, like to push yourself in different places of growth. And for me, like, growth has been so uncomfortable, but that's where the word growing pains comes from. Literally, like, you grow and you literally go through pain, and then you grow as you become an adult and you go through pain in all these different categories. And to me, that's kind of how I just pushed forward with everything, is growing and putting myself in these vulnerable spots that make you feel unstable sometimes and yucky, because you have to go back and revisit and you have to push yourself back there. But when you sit in it and you actually take the time to excavate through all of the things, that's like healing little tiny wounds that you didn't even know existed. And then all of a sudden you're becoming more open. These two are communicating better, your mind and your heart, and you're seeing the world in a different way, but you're also giving to the world in a different way with an open heart and mind. And it's just crazy what comes to you when you open the two.
That is so huge. And the hardest part, though, is something you said, when you sit in it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is the hardest, because who wants to sit in a big pile of shit?
Exactly.
Because that's what it is, and it doesn't feel good. That's why we avoid it at all costs. But you need to sit in it to discover your truth.
Absolutely.
As you pointed out. But why were you not afraid of it? Because so many people are afraid of that vulnerability. They're afraid of the pain. They're afraid of opening up their heart that way, because it just gets hammered in the process.
It does. You know, I think you get to a point of like mental overload or physical overload or emotional overload, you know, or all of those things together. And for me, I knew my purpose was way bigger than what I was able to achieve at that moment. And I just felt stuck. I was stuck. And I'm like, I'm not a stuck person. So I'm like, I can't move any direction. And so I'm like, hey, I need to change something. I need to shift. But how are we going to shift? I need to make this happen. So that's where I decided to do this, to sit in the pile of shit and literally get drugged through it. Because if there's going to be any good change that's going to come, it's going to be from me, healing something in me, because it's missing. It was missing. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't want to live like this. You know, I don't want to live in sadness, let's say, or I don't want to live in a way that I'm viewing things negatively. I want to see the gifts that the world is giving daily. I want to receive, I want to give, and I want to receive. And that's kind of how the purpose becomes. You have to be open to it, though.
God, that's beautiful, the way that you frame that.
Well,
and I hope
you.
that everybody listening is taking notes, because you are just oozing so much perspective here.
You.
I want to dig into what areola restoration is, if you can describe the work and what the whole process of a woman with breast cancer goes through. So take us through that.
Yeah, so areola restoration is essentially implanting pigments, medical grade pigments and inks underneath the surface of the skin. So in easier terms, it is a medical tattoo essentially, but we work with different equipment and we work completely different techniques. So that's kind of in a nutshell exactly what it is. But my job specifically is to recreate anatomy for women who've been through breast cancer. Bilateral, unilateral mastectomy. It doesn't matter either way. When the breast is removed, a nipple areola complex is required to complete, in my opinion, the whole package. But unfortunately, this isn't something that is fully discussed upon diagnosis. And as we've continued through our movement, we've learned that the education surrounding this is not nearly as big or broad as it should be. So that's kind of what's prompted us to...
We're going to dig further into that, but I need to clarify for anyone wondering about, I was a medical reporter for many years, and I did do a story, followed a woman extensively who underwent a double mastectomy. I'm going to paint you a picture with our words here. When you have your breasts removed, essentially you've got two giant scars that are left on the chest, right? Then you can go through reconstruction.
Yep.
Right? And that's essentially putting an implant into the cavity where the breast once was. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Okay. But those scars don't go away.
They don't.
And when you build that area back up to make it look like a natural part of a woman's body, there are no areolas.
Nothing.
Just one giant scar.
Yep. In a lot of cases. I mean, that's one type of surgery there, and there's multiple different types of surgeries. You know, some women, like you said, you have your mastectomy, and then expanders would be put in to re-stretch that skin.
Right.
So that's a process in itself.
It's painful too.
So painful. And it's not like it's done in a couple days. You know, we're talking months, we're talking years in some cases with complications and whatnot. You know, with other patients we've seen, it's a Diep skin graft, it's called. So it's actually like, if we're going to paint the picture, it's doing like almost a tummy tuck on an individual. So they take the skin from the lower abdomen and they actually bring it up to the chest wall, and they recreate and actually connect all of the nerve endings in the blood supply so that the fat and skin graft can create a breast mound. So essentially it's your stomach or your pubic area that's on your chest now, or your back, you know, the skin from your back or skin from other parts of the body. Or, I mean, these surgeons are insanely creative and talented in where they grab this, how they create this mound where they're going to take the graft from and harvest the skin. And that gives us essentially the canvas that we work on.
So I want to hold space for the women that do have this done, and there's many that choose never to undergo reconstructive surgery, and everyone like deals with that journey on their own. But for those of us who, maybe people out there who've never been touched by breast cancer, don't understand the process, Kacie, give us the why behind why a woman would choose this, or what you're hearing with the areola reconstruction and what you do and how that impacts a woman's life.
Absolutely. You know,
and not only women, men you work with too. So I want to say that as well.
Absolutely. You know, I'll just say this right now out of the mouth of Lisa Duke. It's your beautiful back. You know, like that's her coined term, and it's true. And you know, when we work with these women, and I say women because predominantly it is women that are being diagnosed, but men as well. I mean, it's inevitable that when men and women will be. So, but when we just speak, it's mostly predominated with women. But you know, to create a feature that has been taken away from you, it helps the patient and our friends, we call them our friends, but the patient regain a sense of new confidence and a new sense of self. You know, you've had this area taken from you and completely recreated. It's completely different from other areas of your body even. And then all of a sudden there's like something missing. You know, it's just a thing right now. And it's shocking when we bring in a patient and they say, oh, I think I'd like to have this done. And we do a consultation, a simple sketch, and they're already bawling. It's like they don't even realize how powerful color and art coming together can be on that beautiful part of the body, and how intimate that can be to them, not in a sexual way, in an empowering way, you know? And it just takes this whole place and it reframes it for them. You know, if it's scarred or if it's just traumatized, it brings that sense of pretty back to the area, and it just changes. You can watch their confidence. It's like something that I'm like addicted to seeing, honestly. Like it's a feeling that I strive to see it all the time, because it's just so uplifting to watch somebody's body change, you know, their structure. They're not so confident walking in and defeated, and then all of a sudden you show the after and their chest is up and they are looking and they're a whole new woman. Like it's so amazing. I can't even explain.
Do you think that, and have you heard, you know, your patients, your friends tell you that it's healing for them? Is it part of their healing journey?
Absolutely. So essentially my job is the very last step through the whole cancer journey. So if you can imagine from your diagnosed day and your diagnosis all the way to the very end, it's very different for patient to patient. So for when people come to see me and my friends come to see me, it is the very last step of this whole process. So they are finished after this. So it is like a victory day. It is a badge of honor to some. And we say like, this is the tattoo that is like this is the ultimate badge of honor warrior tattoo that you can receive. And anyone in the tattooist space or the medical space, anybody working with this type of work will say that that is the ultimate badge of honor. So it's a pretty beautiful thing to be able to deliver that creatively with my own hands.
When you talk about this work, you just glow.
Thank you.
You can tell that this just touches your soul.
Oh, it is who I am, 1,000%. Like, this is my purpose. I was put on this planet to help, and I know that, and it just so happened I found it at a young age. So I'm feeling forever thankful that what's going to come in the future, who even knows? But I know there's some really great things happening, so I'm so thankful for that.
On the subject of healing, has it helped you heal from your loss of your father?
That is such an amazing question, and I'm happy you asked me that. So much so. One of my, I guess, perspectives of my own healing is helping other people. That helps me heal, huge. So the fact that I can do this for my actual profession is like, it's amazing, and I couldn't ask for anything more. I get to do this daily, so I get to meet people daily and hear their stories and connect in all different facets, and just human connection is what I strive for. It's what I live for, and to be able to have a positive impact in some way through all of the trauma and pain that we do deal with. People ask me sometimes, like, do people just want to like not see this all the time and like not be in kind of this sadness all the time? And I was like, I never thought of it like that, because although it is all of those things and we honor all of those things, we just connect on a different channel where we've already honored the sadness, but we're over here bringing up the happy and the positive, and we're reframing and we're working forward. And so it's not like it's bogging down, it's bringing up. We're always working on the ups. So that's kind of something for me, that as we're bringing up all these patients and clients, they're actually bringing me up in the process. So it's a pretty beautiful two-way street.
Wow, how reciprocal it is. Who knew when you found your purpose, what's happens, right?
Yes.
I want you to tell us quickly the story. Like, first of all, your Instagram page is phenomenal, and I love that you show these before and after photos. So everybody, you need to go follow Kacie Rainey. What is your Instagram handle?
At Kacie Rainey.
Okay, spell it out for us.
At KACIE RAINEY.
Okay, so you put some before and after photos of one woman recently that it had a huge impact on her, because her scars, as most women's are, were pretty predominant.
Yes, that's right. So her scarring, this one patient particularly, it's called hypo-pigmentated. So there's two different styles, hyper and hypo. So there's lack of color, and then there's too much color. So we're dealing with hypo and hyper-pigmentation with her scar area. So although an incision line can be very smooth and that's what it's intended to heal like, not all of our skin type with different melanin heals that way. So sometimes we're lacking color and it's white. Other times we're having excess color where it's darker brown or purpley. And so in her area, she actually did this out of cancer prevention. So she had a mastectomy as preventative form. So her scarring, beautiful, beautiful work by the surgeon for her breast mounds, but her scarring and pigmentation was very much so dominant over the breast mound. So all she saw was scarring, and it was devastating for her. She felt she didn't have her confidence because of this, and that was the focal point to her, was the scars. All she could focus on. So we were able to help her, and we gave her some new 3D, so completely flat. But after we worked on it, looks like they were protruding, 3-dimensional hyper-real areolas and nipple complex. And she looks like, well, you saw the picture. She looks like phenomenal. A totally different person. Yeah. It's amazing. Amazing. It really is. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of Instagram, like, this absolutely blows my mind. But you got it. So Kacie posts these pictures, and Instagram is giving you all sorts of headaches. Tell us more about that.
Oh yeah, Instagram and I are best friends. So essentially, I just go all in. Like, I'm not trying to fluff anything or
and I love that about you.
And it's like, this is my cause follow it or don't, either way, we're going to do it. So, we post these beautiful transformation photos and, Instagram, or even people of the Instagram, report these photos as nudity and pornography. And it's just so disheartening that not reading the caption, and, we're very descriptive of what we're posting, but like, you can clearly see the devastation in the area. Like, there's nothing sexualized about what this is. And so it's so hard, because we're trying to work with these top doctors across Canada and all these patients to bring awareness and to create that. And how do you do that more so than through a photo? The impact of, like, bam, here's the before and after, like, right here. And, it's just very challenging, because that gets deleted or reported, or they put, like, restrictions on your page. So all of your photos are not being viewed like other people out there posting photos of different body parts for different reasons, let's say, so it just, as influencers, let's say, different reasons. So like we battle it.
That, like, why can't they just go and shut down the Kardashians page? Because if there is not enough skin that's shown on there, I don't know, because I don't follow them. I don't have time for that brain pollution. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. I want to go and talk about your business. So you have a business partner. You started this together.
Yes.
And so there is the entrepreneurial spirit mixed in with your beautiful art form that you are impacting women's lives everywhere. Tell us more about that. When did you guys join forces?
So I had started my company naturally, actually, while I was in university, and this kind of morphed into what it became now. And I always loved the name, so I kept that, and I've built this out. My beautiful partner, Carmelina Bakari, that's her business. We both reconnected when she was going through her own battle with breast cancer. And so I'd met her a long, long time ago, and we just joined forces again, and we just rekindled over time. And we said, you know what, like, she knew the story of my dad and everything, and she actually met me right after my dad had passed away. So she was kind of right in there on the raw scale with me. And I was there around when she was going through her cancer journey too. So it's bizarre how this traumatizing, yucky word cancer can really reunite. And that's really how this all started, was cancer brought us back together. And now we are taking this, and we have created an initiative to bring awareness to the world of cancer.
Tell me more. Scream it from the hilltops here.
So we are the founders of a new initiative and movement called Procedures for a Positive Purpose. So essentially, this was designed to create awareness surrounding cancer as a blanket, but also specifically breast cancer, because that's what we deal with on the daily. The three angles that we are trying to promote is prevention, detection, and support. So just depending where you're at in your journey, that is what our Procedures for a Positive Purpose handle is trying to support and bring light to.
Okay.
So we've started this movement, and the response has been insane.
When you say a movement, beautiful. What do you mean? You're looking for stories, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. So it's the Procedures for a Positive Purpose initiative has become such of doing pro bono work for patients who can't afford this specialized application, scar revisions, all different types of multifaceted areas, just to help give back throughout the community. And then also sharing stories from other women and what they've been through in their life, cancer related or not, just a platform that we've created to uplift women. And, I want to touch on that specifically, because I feel uplifting women is so #overused.
Go.
But this
Door is wide open
something
here.
that we believe so strongly in. If anyone knows Carmelina and I, we come in full throttle, but we come in open heart, open mind. There's no agenda with us. And so creating this, we call it movement and momentum together. Yeah. So this momentum that we've created has just created such a beautiful response with women supporting women hearing other women. And support isn't just saying you support. Support is listening to somebody. Support is taking yourself outside of your comfort zone and allowing yourself to actually hear and feel someone else's story, even if you can't relate to it exactly. And all over the world, not just around here, you know, different cultures, different backgrounds, different, you know, first world, third world, like all those things. Just human connection is what we're trying to create. And our culture section of all of this has been so beautiful. We've had the most amazing women step up to the plate and say, I would like to share my story. And we've just used our platform to, as a megaphone for them to share, you know, if it's, I'm a single mom, or if it's, I'm a working mom and I'm getting, you know, it's such a hard world out there because you get judged differently when you work and you have children and you're maybe the main income, you know, provider, or, you know, something to do with breast cancer or whatever it may be. It's, we just want to hear your stories and connect through your stories. And that's so important to us.
Where can people find this platform? Is it on your website?
It is, yes. So CacieRainey.com. On my Instagram page too, we do these flows where we do kind of groups of like 6 women to start right now. It's been so overwhelmingly like received that we might be doing more than 6 at a time, but we pretty much feature and star these women on our social channels to get their stories out there. And if they have a cause that they're, you know, fighting for or wanting to talk about, you know, domestic violence, like it doesn't matter what it is. Like we're all women, we're all in this together, and we need to bond. Like we need to start, you know, handing each other different, you know, hands to hold as opposed to, you know, putting people down. Like it's just, it's the time. Like it is our time and we need to make it happen.
Amen to that. Oh my God, I'm going to stand up and give you like, honestly, I know why you wanted to talk about this, and I am passionate about it as well. And every keynote speech I give, I always talk about empowered women, empower women, and that is the majority of my goal with the inner circle, is to connect women and have them lift each other up and find ways to support instead of tear down.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's just so key in our growth and our development. And as you touched upon, Kacie, said, never really has there been a time in recent history where we're seeing what's happening today happen. Like women are connecting, and I see it in rooms that I speak to and in female groups that I coach. We're taking important steps forward, and you're seeing it too. And I love that you've created this platform.
Thank you.
And it's needed. Otherwise, they're coming to you in droves, right?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things my dad used to tell me all the time is lead by example. You know, you have to set the tone. And so, you know, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have amazing women and team supporting me. You know, like I wouldn't even be here talking with you if it wasn't for my girlfriend Christy, who I work at her shop. Like this is how all of this connection starts. So she's a beautiful store. It's Refinery Clothing here in town. It's been here for a long time in Edmonton. And she had offered, you know, I love what you're doing, and would you like to, you know, do a little pop-up here? And 2 years later, here we are, like, together, like we're best buddies. But I mean, it's just like that opportunity from an entrepreneur who's like established business, established in Edmonton. I would never have connected to Edmonton again after I finished school if it wasn't for her. So it's just beautiful that she saw it in me. I didn't see it at the time, and she saw it. And it's just, that's, we all have people in our lives that put us in certain places. And it's just like, now it's my turn, you know, to lead by example. She showed me an example of positivity, and I take that, and now it's like, okay, how do we just keep spreading that?
I agree.
Everybody's winning, you know,
Connection instead of competition.
Absolutely.
Right?
Totally.
And I feel the same. I have so many beautiful women in my life. You are now part of that whole inner circle that have empowered me and lifted me up and supported me. So I just want to give it back tenfold. And it's important to be able to do that. And I know too that you are also doing this in a number of different capacities, even outside Edmonton. Tell me more about your pro bono work, because you're on your way to South Africa soon, right?
I am. I leave in like a couple weeks here. So,
and it's not even your first trip. So tell me about why the pro bono work and what that means to you.
So I have some pretty amazing family members that actually are out in Cape Town, South Africa right now. And again, some people who helped me get on my feet and got me to where I am. Played a huge role to get me back on my feet, let's say. And they're actually they're from Calgary, and they're over in Cape Town right now. Took their whole family over there to give back to the community. And through humanitarian work. And so that just sparked, I've done humanitarian trips before. It's something in my soul that I need to do. It's not a question. It's happening. So jump on the bus because we're going. So yeah, it's been a beautiful journey in giving back, not only within my own community and country, because we are international, and we are nationwide as well. So everywhere I travel, I see this need, and it's like, how can I give? And education is power.
Yes.
Education is the biggest power anybody could ever have, especially talking about third world countries. And so for me, I just said, okay, education's power. How can I create that with my craft? We're going to give back. I'm going to educate people about this, and I'm going to give back my time. And that's how we're going to do it. So a couple of years ago, I went to Haiti with one of my best girlfriends, Ginny, and that's what sparked my liking and my inkling for humanitarian work. We went with a dental team, and I ran the whole team, and it was like I flowed the clinic, and I was obsessed with it. I couldn't get enough of it. And so I went with her, and then she said to me, next humanitarian trip, it'll be your turn and your work, and I'll be coming with you. So on what you said, going to South Africa, I actually booked my trip out to go see my family and do some traveling. And in the meantime, I had stumbled upon this article about this amazing flamingo project with doctors out in South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa, doing all pro bono mastectomy work for women in need in that area, women who don't have the means. And I mean like extreme poverty and corruption. So it just warms my soul that I reached out and they responded, and we have a full clinic lined up, patients waiting for me to come out in 2 weeks to help finish their journey.
Incredible. How can we help?
So I'm going to be setting up, this is kind of step one, which is really exciting. So I'm going to be back out there with Carmelina. It's just one set of hands right now. She's actually doing some traveling herself. She'll be in Morocco. So we were trying to make it work, but we just couldn't mesh the times this round. So I'm kind of doing test round one, heading out there. And then next year, 2021, we'll be going together. And then our full team will be coming with us too. So it will be a full clinic flow.
Wow.
So this will be our humanitarian trip every year. We're hoping to build out with these doctors, in Cape Town, but across Africa where it's needed, across in a place that's not talked about enough, in my opinion, and we just need to bring light, and we want to be the vehicle of information. So I'm going to be setting up just a simple GoFundMe page just to cover supplies. That's all. Time and all that to me this is healing, but just the supplies, and just to get people on board, educating, awareness, all that great stuff. Right. And people can make a difference, every little bit counts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can we find those details on your website?
Absolutely.
KacieRainey.com?
Yep.
Okay.
And my Instagram page. Absolutely.
I also want to shine the light on the Lisa Project.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us more about that and the details.
The Lisa Project. So our dear friend Lisa Duke, she's from small town Penhold, Alberta. That's actually where I live. And it's kind of crazy.
Shout out to Penhold there.
Shout out to small towns across Alberta doing good things.
I'm a small town girl too. I
get
it.
Doesn't matter where you are. It matters who you are. So she is absolutely amazing human. I came back from South Africa last year, and I had posted on my social media page I want to give back. And it just so happens that one of her friends nominated her. And I didn't understand the magnitude of Lisa's story until she came in for a consultation. All I knew is that she had breast cancer, and that she had a double mastectomy, and she was totally wanting to have reconstruction done, or areolar restoration, done. And she came over to my studio in Penhold, and we talked and we cried and we hugged and we just had this moment together that is almost inexplainable. Instant connection with her, like instant connection. And I said, Lisa, if you will let me take this on, I will work some magic for you, but just if you are willing to be vulnerable and open. And she was so on board, and we're so proud of her for being so open with her story. We ended up filming her entire process. And that the Lisa Project is what sparked our whole new initiative for procedures for a positive purpose, for positivity, and spreading that love and kindness. And, with Lisa, she's unfortunately terminal. She's stage 4, and, it metastatic. So they're just kind of managing at this point, which is, it opens some wounds for me, like it does, because you see this person in their wholeness right here, and she's looking so beautiful right now. She's got her hair and she's like styling it and she looks great, but inside there's a lot going on, and so it brings up a lot of mixed feelings for a lot of people. But we've been able to work with her, and she's been the face literally of all this amazing positive work that we've been trying to do. And, we were so honored to get a reach out from CTV just recently, that aired across Alberta, but Calgary and Edmonton, just to feature her, and her story deserves to be heard.
Yes, it does.
Single mom, 2 kids, like fighting every day, like talk about not taking one moment for granted. She's just forever grateful for anything. And if I could use my voice to magnify her story, like then I'm doing one thing right, and I will.
What do we need to learn from Lisa? And Lisa, if you're listening, the whole inner circle here is holding space for you as we record this podcast, and we send our love and our light, and we wrap our arms around you from a distance. We're with you, so know that. We send our strength. What do we need to learn from her and her story?
Literally what you just said. My arm hairs just, my goosebumps popped out there. So the inner circle is for real. Lisa has her courage, honestly. Like, there's so many things about Lisa. Like, I could talk forever about her. But imagine being stripped of a feminine feature of your body, not only going through the surgeries of that and the trauma of that, but then after doing all that and putting, endless chemo treatments and radiation and all of that, then being told, like, you have an end date, being told that, but still fighting, so she's still the brightest light because she's actually living her days. So we're never going to say, like, miracles happen. And, we're always praying for Lisa, and we are surrounding her and sending her so much love all the time. And that's kind of what my takeaway from, any experience from Lisa. Like, she changes the room. Her smile is so, so bright. Her energy just exudes off to you. And for her to be able to stand up and be as vulnerable as taking her shirt off and showing her war wounds, and then allowing that to be filmed, and then allowing that on, national television, like, that just speaks to the characteristics and the human being that she truly is. Because her whole goal was, you know what, Kacie, if you really think, like, if we do this and you really think that my story can help one person, then I'm successul. Like, that's good. I'm like, we are going to help more than one person. Like, the magnitude of this is beyond what we could have comprehended. But, when like-minded people come together and the outcome is a positive, you cannot put a ceiling on it. No. You just keep on going. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to keep on going for Lisa. Like, she is our initiative. This is why we do what we do. And we're just going to keep going forward. And we're putting that out there right now, and the world's going to send things back. She's an amazing human. She deserves all these things, as do her kids.
Yes.
And, we are here and we are present, and we are now. That's the thing. We are now, and we're living now with her.
I'm right beside you, and any way I can help, I'm with you.
Thank you.
You said something powerful, and I know that you live this way. You said, we are now.
Yes.
Tell me more.
That's an interesting one, because there's a saying that they say out in Africa that is now, which is interesting because it means right now. Not just, I'll do that now. They say now, which means, like, we're living here. We're doing here. We're living now. And I took that and I was like, oh my gosh, does that apply in so many aspects of my life? Like, as my little reminder, like, I'll do that in a minute. Like, I'll do that now. No. You want to do it right now. So for me, like, living, I want to live right now, and I want to soak up and enjoy all of this. Things can turn any second, your health, your your ability, like, I'm just so thankful that I have the ability to do what I do. And, things we take for granted, like our mental health, for example, like I'm just going to shine some light on that. Like things that we take for granted, that we even have stability in our own mind,
right.
Whereas people that don't understand mental health never would understand what instability looks like. Right. And so if you've ever been affected by it, or you know somebody, or you've lived with somebody who has been, family member, sister, brother, friend, anything, you have a whole new appreciation for what stability actually seems like, looks like, feels like, because you've been granted the gift of having it, not having to work for it every day, So that's something that every day I remind myself, like we're here for a short time, really. And how are we going to utilize our time? How do you want to utilize your time? Do you want to be the light spreading, and do you want to be leading by example? Yeah, like you do want to be like that. You want to be known for that at the end of the day. And if you start doing that, it's pretty amazing how many people start jumping on board and changing their life to be like, I can get on board with that,
Lisa, help us in that regard. At the beginning of this conversation, I said to you, you are an old soul and you ooze wisdom and you are light. You walked into my office and it was like, wow, there is something so incredibly special about you. There's many, many things that I have to learn from you. But for everybody listening today, can you, do you have some daily practices that you do, or some takeaways that you want people to walk away from this podcast with in their heart and in their mind that perhaps could lead them to their purpose if they're struggling, if they've lost their direction? What do you want to say to them?
I think everything just comes from a place of authenticity. If you're doing something authentically with no agenda, you will always have a good outcome. If there's anything negative surrounding that, or you do have an ulterior motive or using of someone or something, you'll never get the result you want. So you have to wipe your hands clean of that, and you have to paint your own picture. You have to paint your life. That's the best advice. I try, like, daily practice, like I try to paint the picture of what I want my life to look like, the happiness of that. That's a daily practice. Happiness isn't something you're just given. You have to practice what happiness looks like. And when you don't have it, you're like, wow, I really appreciated when I was happy, or those happy moments. So that's something that I do daily, is I practice happiness, and it is a discipline. It's something that you have to stay true to and structured to. And that's not just maybe the things you do, it's how you do them, how you say them, who you connect with, all of those things. Every little bit counts towards the bigger picture. But one thing that I really, really have worked hard on with myself, and I will say that is something that's helped me a lot through healing too. I've always managed a way to be resilient in situations that are negative. Okay. I've always managed to find a positive in the most negative shit you could imagine.
Guidance,
it's kind
please?
Of, yes. It's
Can you give us some guidance how you do it?
It's kind of like this practice that, when one negative thought pops up, it's like a moth to a light. Like all the moths are coming to the light. It's just like it sucks everything out of you. So if you can pack that away, and you can tuck that thought away or eliminate it, change the channel in your brain and go to a positive place and say, okay, I know this isn't great, but figure out a positive. Why? How can we make this better? Or reframe it for yourself. The reframing process is probably the most beautiful gift you could ever give yourself, to learn how to reframe things. It's magic. It really is magic. And I still practice it, and I'm still learning how to become a master at it. But, to get through life and to get to places where you need to get to, simple practice, up to complex practice, but reframing in the positive light, that's what's going to bring you all the light.
I love that. I'm going to run with that as well. I know you've said many times you're living your purpose, but what else is in that purpose? What's still to come for Kacie Rainey?
Oh my gosh. This part gives me like the full out chills, because I don't know. That's the best part. And it's
and
the
is that
unknown.
why it gives the unknown gives you chills? Because
Oh, yes. Because there is so much more out there that is waiting for me. I'm just not ready for it yet. It's not my time yet. Right now, I'm in my time. Right now, I'm in my now, and I know that. But as we progress and grow and learn and become more seasoned, as I become more seasoned and my heart and my mind become more seasoned, I'll be able to be more effective on this earth. And I know that. So, at first it's like you're rushing to get things done and accomplish in life and move from here to here. And you're following the steps of graduating and getting married and having kids and following all these steps, when it's like, guess what? Like, life doesn't have an agenda like that. Everyone doesn't work like that. There's billions of people in this world. We can't all have the exact same agenda. That's what makes our world go round. So for me, having that unknown as to, we have a direction, which is absolutely beautiful, and that is the purpose, and that is my light. But what's to come of all of this? Like, I have no idea, but I can't wait to talk to you maybe in like a year from now or 2 years from now, and we can revisit this, and then we'll have so much to talk about.
Booked, absolutely 1,000,000%, because I can't wait to see where you take your life and your purpose and what you grow this project into.
Thank you.
And just know that I'm here for you every step of the way. And the inner circle there was a reason the universe brought us together today. I needed to meet you. And the amount of light that you brought into my life in this past hour, talking to you and having this conversation, and the enrichment to every single listener of this podcast and the stories you shared.
Thank you.
I will be forever grateful for that. I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for the now.
But now.
Thank you for your love and your light you shared with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.